I'm Caroline, for anybody who has not met me before, and I know some of you are just loading on, getting everything turned on, checking to see if your camera, if everything's working, sound, everything too. So I'm really excited to see you. If anybody has any health concerns, please let me know. You can always send me a private message if you would like. And by the way, I'm Caroline. I should probably say that. And I know a lot of you have met me before. And with that, I've been teaching for, gosh, I think since 2004, and I'm lucky enough to be with SFU Rec since 2014, I think. So it's been quite a while. And pre-pandemic, I used to teach yoga, group fitness classes as well, and some dance classes. So I'm very grateful with everything that we're able to do stuff online. And I'm very excited that you're here joining me today for yoga. And as mentioned earlier, if anybody has any health concerns, please feel free to put them in the chat. You can send them privately to me if you'd like. I want you to always feel safe, comfortable. In regards to for class, yoga is a wonderful way for relaxation. It's a great way to build strength, balance, and flexibility. Couple things you may or may not want is sometimes depending where you are, and I know it's nicer out. I'm so glad the sun wants to come out, and hopefully it does. But you may want a blanket or pillows for Shavasana at the very end. The other things you may or may not want is perhaps a yoga strap. You can always use a resistance band if need be, in case you ever need to get a little bit more into your stretches. And yoga blocks can be very helpful too. I don't talk a lot of props a lot of the times because of the fact I know not everybody has them at home, but I do know if you are working on your on everything, it can be very helpful to have these types of tools that can get you a little bit deeper into your practice, make it a little bit more comfortable for those of you who may be having challenges getting into certain poses. So yoga props are great. I'm always happy to share in regards to things. And so great to see you back, Maisie, and so nice to see everybody. I saw Andrea there too, and some other beautiful familiar faces. So your choice if you'd like to have your camera on. Everybody will be muted, but if you feel comfortable having your camera on, please feel free to. It's up to you. I want you to know that this is your class, your space, your time, your practice. So making modifications when you need to, staying really connected to your breath. So noticing if anything ever feels sharp, shooting, or electric in terms of sensations in your body. And if it does, please stop. Being aware as well, if you haven't been working out in the last few weeks since we haven't been running classes live, that you may want to go a little bit gentler today, and that's okay. So just seeing for yourself what feels best, and with that, really honoring yourself as we breathe, taking care of yourself. And if you want, I will be teaching vinyasa as well on Thursday. So just want to put that out there as well in case you need a more fast-paced class this week, because it is the first week. We are going to go a little bit gentler. And I'm really excited to have you here. And again, for those of you who just joined, my name is Caroline. I've been teaching since 2004 for different types of classes, and with SFU Rec since 2014, and teach yoga, dance, and group fitness, and I do personal training and medical qigong too, even though I don't offer all of those there. Oh yes, and last but not least, if you want, please feel free to follow us on YouTube, because SFU Rec has some really great classes, not just from myself, but from other instructors. So dance, group fitness, I believe belly dance and Bollywood dance too. So there's a few different types of things that there is there. So whenever you need a workout, it is there for you. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start with taking a big breath in. And exhale, big breath out. And taking a deep breath in. And deep breath out. And one more. And exhaling. bringing chin to chest and softly rolling your head from side to side, starting to breathe a little bit deeper, seeing if it's possible to lengthen your breath in and your breath out. If you have any injuries with your neck, checking in with your body and your doctor, of course, to make sure it's okay to do head rolls. So very gently back and forth. Coming back to center, taking your head over to your right shoulder. And if it feels okay, let's guide the head a little bit more into that stretch, really lengthening the front plane of your body. Taking big breaths in and big breath out. And you may notice as we breathe a little bit more, your breath may start to slow down. Let's bring our head back to center and taking it the opposite way. Pressing through your wrist and breathing, taking deep breaths in and deep breath out. And just as a forewarning for those of you who are just meeting me, my wonderful cat Ripley sometimes likes to pop on screen. Sometimes she does steal my yoga mat. And I don't know how many of you are working out with dogs and cats and different types of creatures, but sometimes, even though we usually do at least one pet yoga every semester, sometimes every week is pet yoga in this household. And taking big breaths in as we roll our shoulders back, noticing any crunchy bits. I don't know if anybody eats Rice Krispie cereals, but sometimes when you add that milk in, I feel like I'm crackling and popping with my shoulders as we roll. So just noticing any bits, especially if you've been working, maybe you've been doing classes on Zoom this morning, maybe you've been working on a paper. Just imagine shrugging off any tension. Anything you want to let go of as we breathe, still keeping that breath nice and deep. And when you're ready, that's reverse them the other way. Imagine creating more spaces in between your shoulder blades as we take those deep breaths in and breath out. And one more. Lifting your tailbone, lifting your chest, and on your exhale, curl, and inhaling, lift. And exhaling, curl. If your low back's been sensitive, starting gentler with less range of motion, and as it feels good, as we connect to the breath, adding a little bit more, exploring that range of motion as we really start to get into that spinal column, starting to work through those spaces in between each vertebrae, in the ribs. Big breath in and big breath out. Two more. Last one. And finding your way back to center, reaching your fingers as if you had strings on your fingers and they're pulling towards opposite ends of your room, really breathing. Lifting your collarbone, feeling yourself lifting up out of your hips. And whenever you're ready, let's reach to the right. And inhale through center, reaching to the left. And starting to press. So as I reach my left arm up, I'm going to press my left hip out to the side, pulling up through the pelvic floor too, feeling the engagement of the spine and our abdomen, breathing in through center, breathing out as we come to the side, feeling how good it feels just to breathe in between your ribs, creating that length, those spaces as we stretch those intercostal muscles in between each rib, getting into the obliques as well on either side of our belly button, starting to feel that stretching through our QL in the back too. So really getting a little bit more into our bodies, noticing as we breathe any areas that you may be holding tension. As we inhale through center, exhale to the side, allowing a little bit more range of motion as we start to flow. And the next time we find ourselves to the right, let's bring it into windmill. So reaching all the way to the right, exhale through center, let's come over to the left and finding our way up and reach. Exhaling through center to the side and up, and a couple more. And last one. Let's go the opposite way once we reach the top. Big breath in and exhale. Circle. Coming to the side and up and reach. Exhaling through center and up. And a couple more. Last one. And finding our way back to center and just getting into our hips for a moment, just shifting side to side. In a moment, we are going to flow a little bit, just a very gentle flow. And circling the hips. Keeping these soft, getting a little bit more into your back, into the legs. As we breathe in at the back, exhale as your pelvis reaches forward. And reverse the other way. Exhaling forward. Inhale as you reach back. And one more. And finding your way back to center. Let's take a big breath in when you're ready, reaching the arms all the way up. Exhale, flat back as we come forward to a forward fold. Inhaling for a halfway lift. Exhale, bringing hands onto the ground. Let's take our left knee back. We're going to come into a low lunge. So option one, hands on the ground, 2 and 3, reaching up and breathe. Staying here for 4 breaths. Keeping knee directly over ankle for that right foot, the front foot. Feeling your fingertips reaching up to the sky, pulling the ribs towards each other as we continue to lengthen. One more big breath on the exhale, bringing hands down. Let's straighten the front leg, flexing your foot, feeling that front hip pulling back, back hip pulling forward, feeling your heart reaching towards your toes. And breathing into that stretch through the back of the leg. Taking deep breaths in. And deep breath out. One more big breath, softening into your front knee. So I've got my right foot in front, left hand comes down. I'm going to extend, right arm up to the sky, coming into a twist. And breathing deeply. Seeing if it's possible to start lengthening your exhale as we take those big breaths in and big breath out. One more big breath on the exhale, bringing hands back down. Let's straighten that front leg again. And if it feels okay to get a little deeper this time, feeling your hips reaching a little further back, please do. Taking those deep breaths in and deep breath out. One more big breath, softening into your front knee, planting both hands on the ground, tuck your back toes. When you're ready, we are going to step back into what we call downward facing dog. Nice widely spread fingers and walking through the feet by softening into right knee, coming up onto the ball of the foot, softening into left, feeling that stretch up the backs of the legs. As we take those big breaths in and big breath out. And when you're ready, let's pick up our right foot. We are going to bend our right knee, stacking right hip over left hip, keeping both hands equally on the ground as we breathe into that side body. Taking deep breaths in and deep breath out. One more big breath on the exhale, unstack, planting both feet onto the ground. Let's soften our knees, looking past our hands, jump, step, or float forward. Let's inhale for halfway lift. Exhale, relaxing down, soften your knees, and let's come all the way up. Exhale, bringing hands to heart and hands to side, reaching up, big breath. Exhale, bowing down. Inhaling for a halfway lift. Exhale, bringing hands back down. This time, that step, a right knee back. And reaching both arms up. Taking those deep breaths in and deep breath out. And for those of you who would like to add a little bit of a back extension, please do. Still pulling your ribs together, pulling up through the pelvic floor. Feeling the engagement of your spine, making sure there's no compression in the low back. Want to make sure we're still lifting up and out, even though the back muscles or abdomen muscles are engaged. One more big breath on the exhale, both hands down. And straighten the front knee, and again, pulling that front hip back, pelvis is facing forward, reaching towards your toes, really elongating the spine. One more big breath on the exhale, softening into your front knee. And let's bring it into a twist by extending left arm up to the sky, right hand on the ground, left leg is in front. And breathe. And if this ever hurts anybody's shoulder, it's always okay to have hand on hip as we breathe, taking those big breaths in and big breath out. One more big breath on the exhale, slowly finding yourself back to center. Let's flex that front foot a second time and breathe. checking to see, are you still deepening your breath? Allowing your breath to guide this, just like a moving meditation. And whenever you're ready, let's soften into that front knee, planting hands on the ground, tucking toes. We are going to come back into a three-legged downward dog, bending knee, stacking hip. Taking big breaths in and big breath out. And one more big breath. On the exhale, slowly unstack both feet on the ground, softening into your knees, looking past hands, jump, step, or float feet forward. Inhaling for a halfway lift. Exhale, relaxing down, soften your knees, and let's find our way all the way up. Exhale, bringing hands to heart and hands to side. Rooting into your right foot and bringing it into tree. So option one, first and foremost, pulling up through pelvic floor, pulling your ribs together. Option one is taking left heel just directly above the ankle bone. Two is the calf. Three is bringing it all the way up to the thighs. So seeing for you what feels best today. Just making sure it is not on the knee. It's either above or below. And if you're working on trying to get it up to the thigh, you can always do what I'm doing, which I've got my toes on, but I do not have my heel on. And feeling yourself lengthen. Let's reach the arms all the way up, finding a spot to look at that is not moving. And taking those deep breaths in and deep breath down. Feeling yourself engaging your glute muscles. Feeling the abs and really lifting up out of the hips as we take big breaths in and big breath out. Slowly point your finger and thumb together and very carefully taking the leg out to the side and turn to look away from your leg that's up. Taking those big breaths in and big breath out. And if you want to flex that foot that's being lifted, please do. Bringing into dancing Shiva. One more big breath on the exhale, both feet on the ground, breathing in mountain pose. Palms facing forward, lengthening your spine. Imagine the back of your neck getting a little bit longer, pressing it back ever so slightly. And imagine the crown of your head reaching out to the sky as we breathe. Starting to elongate the exhale just a bit more. And whenever you're ready, let's root into left leg and finding that foundation on the other side. So again, option one is toes. 2, 3 is coming all the way up to the thighs. So again, seeing for you what feels best as we breathe. Pulling up through pelvic floor, ribs pulled together, obliques engaged too, back muscles, and then reaching arms. Coming all the way up. Feeling the engagement of the glutes too. And it's always okay if you need to hold on to something. Trying to relax your toes of your bottom foot as we allow ourselves to root and ground. into man pose. Feeling yourself really rooting to the ground. For those of you who like to work with energy, imagine breathing out through the bottoms of your feet right up to your crown. And exhaling, just feeling yourself rooting down. Sometimes being still and just standing your ground. Two challenging things to do. And as we practice them more and more on that, it does get easier to do on our day-to-day life, being able to stand our ground and be still. It's very powerful. And you are very powerful. And very carefully rooting again. Taking leg up. And very carefully, my apologies, wrong leg. And turning to look away. Bringing the hands together. If you want to lift the elbows a little bit more, please do. Bringing it into that dancing Shiva. One more big breath on the exhale, both feet, both hands down. And softening into your knees, coming into a chair. So letting your seat reach towards the back wall, option one, hands to hips two. Reach the arms above the head, and I am going to turn sideways, reaching hips back. If you find your knees are a little tender and you do have a yoga block, you are always welcome to bring the block in between the legs, which does activate the inner rotators of the leg, which can help stabilize your knee health, depending on the condition of your knees. But it is really great because it just gets that energy flowing right down the insides of the legs too. And one more big breath on the exhale, coming down into a forward fold. Let's inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, relaxing down. Let's soften the knees and find your way all the way up. Exhaling, bringing hands to heart and hands to side. We are going to find your way down to the mat, coming into some basic yoga poses when you're ready. We are going to come down into what we call cat-cow. So bringing hands directly underneath shoulders, knees directly under hips. You can always tuck toes. If this hurts your wrists, you can always bring hands into fists or come down onto the forearms. But let's start with just tucking the pelvis. Inhale, lifting tailbone, and exhale just as we tuck the pelvis. I want you to imagine pulling up through the pelvic floor, feeling the engagement of your abdomen. As we inhale, lifting tailbone, exhale as we bring it up. Starting to feel a little bit more range of motion if your spine is feeling good. So taking big breath, and this time let's bring it a little bit more curling, bringing chin to chest. And on the inhale, lifting tailbone, lifting chest. Looking up. And exhale, curling, really hugging belly button in. And inhaling, lifting up. The other day, one of my students asked me in regards to being able to go from downward dog to stepping foot in between hands without having to move their hands. And one of the ways that we train ourselves to do that is really getting to learn how to hollow the belly as on that exhale where we're squeezing out every last little bit of breath. What that does is gives you a little bit more height for when you're doing things like going from downward facing dog to stepping a foot in between your hands into a lunge, a little bit simpler. It's also very good for that engagement for those of you who are working on arm balances. One of the reasons I love cat-cow and why I think it's in so many yoga classes, in addition to that prep work where it starts to train our core, it does start to release our spines as we take those big breaths in and big breath out. It also works, if you think about our spinal column, along our spine, and so many nerves attached, it can help very much in regards to our stress management levels, being very aware of our emotions and our energy. And sometimes yoga practice can be a very beneficial tool for helping manage your energy. Let's do one more. Coming back to a neutral spine, untucking your toes. And let's reach our hips back. Our arms are going to reach forward in what we call puppy dog. This is a really nice one for lengthening the spine. In dream world, eventually for downward facing dog as the heart reaches towards the mat, tailbone's reaching up. It's a really great spine stretch, and that's where we're working on when we're in downward dog, to get that stretch. Feeling your fingers reaching forward as the hips reach up and back. Taking those deep breaths in. And deep breath out. And imagine breathing in from the very base of your spine, coming all the way up to your crown. And exhaling. And slowly, using your hands to guide you, finding your way back up to a tall seat. Finding a comfortable pose, either one leg in front of the other in what we call easy pose. And sitting up tall on what we call our sits bones, those pointy bones at the bottom of the pelvis. And just like we did at the beginning, starting with curling the spine and lifting your heart. Really still pulling belly button in, just as you did when we were doing our cat-cow. Inhaling as heart reaches forward. Exhaling as we curl. This is one, by the way, that you can do seated. So if you are studying, perhaps you're in a Zoom class and your body needs a break, this is a really nice one to do for that. It's a wonderful way to release your spine, especially if it's stiff or sore. And when we lift the heart forward, it's actually a good way. They've done some studies where it's good for improving your mood too. So if you've been feeling blue because you've been looking down at your laptop in a Zoom class, sometimes it's a good way just to get your energy flowing again, feeling a bit good. Also, scheduling breaks is helpful too. But as we inhale and exhale, we are going to add a little bit more, this last one. And exhaling, sitting up tall, put a little flex in that front foot, and let's walk our hands forward. Feeling that lengthening through whichever leg that you've got in front, you're going to feel it in that glute. And seeing if we can lengthen the spine so we feel it more in the glutes as opposed to the low back. You may feel it in your back too. Some of you may be sitting up all the way on this. Others may have your chest right on the ground. But taking those big breaths in And big breath out. One more big breath on your exhale, walking hands back up, finding that tall seat. Bringing hands back, shoulders roll back, sitting up tall. Option one is chest extension, looking up to the sky. Two, pressing into your hands, shoulders or in their shoulder pockets, and lifting the hips. So feeling your shoulders being supported by your lats, your rhomboids, trapezius, really feeling that as they're in that pocket of muscles along the back, what I sometimes refer to as shoulder pockets. Pulling up your pelvic floor through the front plane of the body, feeling the engagement of the abdomen, pulling your rib cage towards itself too, and just seeing if you can lift your heart a little bit more. One more big breath on the exhale. Let's find our way back down and let's shift. Opposite leg in front, sitting up, finding that tall seat again, and curling the spine. Let's circle around. Inhaling as heart comes forward, exhale as you circle back. Big breath in and big breath out. Massaging your spine as we circle, just as if you were in a jar of peanut butter. Allowing your ribs to reach around the sides, just trying to touch the sides of the jar. And still breathing, inhaling at the front, exhale as you circle back. One more. And let's reverse the other way to the side, inhaling forward to the side. Exhale as we circle back. Big breath in and big breath out. And two more. Last one. Finding yourself back to center, sitting up tall, walking your hands forward. If you need to flex the front foot, please do. And one more big breath on the exhale, walking hands back up, shoulders roll back, hands, and lifting heart, lifting chest. One more big breath on the exhale, finding our way back down. Soles of the feet on the ground, knees to the ceiling, and just allow your knees to windshield wipe from side to side, just getting a little bit more release into the hips. And bringing the soles of the feet together and bowing over your feet. Breathing deeply into your low back, into your hips too. As we take big breaths in and deep breath out. Really expanding your back ribs as we breathe deep, sending the breath to any areas that are tight or maybe a little challenging to breathe into. Just allowing yourself to see if you can relax into the breath. And one more big breath on the exhale slowly, finding your way back up to a tall seat. Let's just release. Extend your legs forward, taking a big breath in on your exhale, reaching towards your toes. Taking those big breaths in, and if you can, let's just roll the shoulders back. And your knees may be bent, that's okay. Really lengthening the spine. Taking big breaths in and big breath out. And one more big breath on your exhale. Let's find our way back up. Whenever you're ready, we are going to find our way down onto our backs. We're going to get into a few deep, deep stretches. So your choice whether or not you'd like to roll all the way down sitting up. That's option one. Option two is holding onto the backs of your legs as you do so. Option three is rolling onto your side first and then rolling all the way down. So seeing for you what feels best today. Once we are all the way down, extending arms, extending legs to yawn and stretch, feeling fresh, cool air coming in. Warm air coming out, and then bringing both knees in towards your chest, feeling the low back melting into the ground and giving your knees a hug, feeling the low back pressing into the ground. And as we breathe in and out, feeling yourself getting a little massage from the earth as we take those big breaths in and big breath out. And whenever you're ready, let's keep our left knee hugged in. Right foot on the ground, knee to the ceiling is option one. Option two, if it feels okay to extend, please do. Option three is to flex that right foot just so you get more engagement through the right leg. Seeing if you can relax your shoulders, letting them come closer to the ground. If this is challenging, you can always use a strap which you place in your hands, which sometimes helps you keep your shoulders on the ground, but also hold your knee in. So seeing for your body what feels best for today. And one more big breath on the exhale, slowly opening up left arm to the side and very carefully guiding your knees over to the right, keeping both shoulders on the ground, but if it's possible, seeing if you could stack your left hip over your right hip. And breathing into the twist. And one more big breath. On the exhale, coming back to center, reaching arms, reaching legs to yawn. And stretch, feeling fresh, cool air coming in. Warm air coming out. And whenever you're ready, then soften right knee, bringing it in towards the chest again, option one. Left knee on the ground, foot on the ground, or left knee on the ceiling, I should say. And taking those hands to wrap. And feeling yourself taking a big breath in. On your exhale, opening right arm to the side. You're coming into a twist, keeping shoulders on the ground. And guiding right knee over to left side, seeing if you can stack right hip over left. And you may or may not be able to do so. And it's okay if you don't, as long as shoulders stay on the ground. And slowly, on your inhalation, rolling back to center, let's stretch arms and legs away from torso. Lengthening your body, feeling how good it feels to breathe in. And breathe out. Softening knees in towards chest. Let's extend legs up to the sky. Reaching for your inner thighs, calves or toes. Feeling tailbone on the ground. Breathing into your hips, feeling glutes on the ground as much as possible too. Your feet are reaching to the sky and rocking side to side. Breathing into your hips. Coming back to center and releasing arms, releasing legs, just giving it a nice shake out. And then slowly, arms and legs returning to the ground to yawn. And stretch. And feeling your feet relax, hands relax, arms, shoulders, neck and head, torso, glutes, and legs. Turning palms up to receive energy, or turning palms down to ground. And if it feels okay, softening your eyes, softening your gaze. If it feels okay to close your eyes and you'd like to, please do. Feeling free to grab any blankets or pillows as we find our way to what we call Shavasana, which is our final pose for today. Focusing on your breath, allowing the earth to hold you. And if you do fall asleep, it just means your body requires it. But if it's okay and you're able to keep awake, and just focusing on your breathing, please do. And feeling yourself taking a big breath in and exhaling, starting to feel movement returning to fingers, to toes, to hands and feet. If you'd like to reach your arms above your head to yawn and stretch, please do. Feeling fresh, cool air coming in, warm air coming out, and softening your knees and very carefully finding your way back up to a tall seat. And let's take a big breath in. And on your exhale, bowing to thank yourself coming to practice. And I thank you for allowing me to guide the practice. Thank you very much, everyone. And